I'm joined with John Lin. My name is Dan Rochon. John is going to share with us today about having a growth mindset and what that means and what that is and how you can enjoy and implement a growth mindset. Before I introduce John, I'll tell you a little bit about him before I ask John for you to talk. John was a Marine Corps individual. I say that as
Hoorah.
a hoorah, right? I thought it was hooah. I thought it was a hooah or something like that, right?
That's Army. That's Army.
Hooah. See, that's the Army in me. That hoorah. I can't resonate with that. So John retired in 2004, and he is a teacher at heart. So before becoming a loan officer, what his job is today, John was a teacher and a football fanatic and a dog dad. Welcome, John. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, you know what? When you said dog, I didn't know where you're going to go with that. Then you said dad. I'm like, okay, there we go.
The power of the pause.
Yeah, I was like, where is he going with this? I'm getting all nervous,
So welcome, John. How are you today?
I am good. How are you, Dan?
Fantastic. So growth mindset. So that's
Yes,
what we're
sir.
going to talk about today. But I want to learn a little bit about you before we jump into growth. Tell us a little bit about who is John Lin.
John Lin is you know what? I think everybody you would ask would probably say something a little bit different. If you ask my wife, she would say that I'm a husband and I'm a stepfather and a dog dad.
Hopefully she throws that dad out there. She doesn't say you're a dog. That would be bad coming from your wife.
yeah. Hopefully she doesn't think of me as a dog, right? And you ask my friends, they'll say that I'm loyal. They'll say that I have a positive attitude. You ask students of mine that I've had, and they'll say that I'm funny. They say that I make learning fun and interesting. So I think that kind of encompasses the different parts of me. I'm a husband. I'm a dad to dogs. I'm a dad to my stepdaughters. I'm a teacher, and I think one part of me is that I embrace change. I love change. So I think that's just part of who I am.
Fantastic. So John, what does it mean to have a growth mindset?
I mean, in a very simple way, there's two different kinds of mindset. There's growth mindset and there's fixed mindset. One is, fixed mindset is I am who I am. If I'm not good at things, it's that's the way it is. And there's not much I can learn from failures. Failure is what it is. Growth mindset is I look at failure as a way to learn, a way to grow, a way to get better. I look at successes as a way to get better, and there's always an opportunity to grow and get better and change for the better.
Do you think that that's something that we're born with, or do you think that's something that we develop through our lives?
You know what? I think there are going to be different people that think different things. I think there are going to be some people who are innately born with it. Yeah, and I think that I might be one of those people that I don't think I ever thought about failure as something that's set in stone. I think some people have to learn it, and I think that's part of their growth mindset is if you have a fixed mindset, if that's what you started with, then learning how to look at failure is one way of growing.
You think that there's ways that you could specifically embrace that to say, like, let's say that you have a parent, for example, and your parent has a fixed mindset. It could be presumed that would be delivered in their parenting style to you, and I'm not saying you, John, right, but to their son or their daughter. And if that's the case, how do you overcome that? And how do you say, wait, I understand, I love you to death, mom or dad or whoever, yet like to coming to terms with this is, it isn't just the way it is. I can create and design my life.
Well, I think you hit on some really key things because, the people we surround ourselves with are going to have a profound impact on our mindset. And I was very fortunate. My dad was always saying, learn and grow and learn and grow. And even though my dad, I think he's probably the most brilliant human being I know, and he's still excited by learning. And so I was very fortunate that I was in that environment. And when I played football, my coaches were similar. I had teachers that were very similar. So I think that, to your question, just so if you have a coach, if you have a life coach or a teacher or somebody that can help guide you and mold you, that is going to help you change that mindset. And I think I sent out all my partners. I think you got an email this weekend about how important coaching is, right?
I love your emails, yeah, and I really do. I really, it's interesting, John, because I do receive your emails, and they're one of the few that I open pretty regularly. Almost, I would say, or at least every time that I see them, because I know that you've got some great nuggets in there, some great inspiration, and that you look at the world. I don't know if do you write those yourself, or is that something that you collaborate, or something somebody else writes, or?
It's we have a really robust marketing team. I wish that I was good of a writer, but what's interesting about Princeton Mortgage, our company, is that we have a very specific individual, and you could talk to Mark Gordon, who's the director of revenue at our company, head of revenue. But like we look for very specific individuals to work at our company, and all of us have very similar mindset, and growth mindset is definitely part of it. And so the coaching tidbits are things that we're like, yep, that's comes from a Princetonian at heart.
Got it. So what really makes you tick, John? Like what drives you? What makes you get up in the morning?
I think, wow. I think every day something different makes me tick. I actually just recently had a one-on-one with Monica Alley, who's over in our operations department, and she asked me the same question: what motivates you? And I think for me, I am intrinsically driven by a desire to be valuable, to provide value to my wife, to provide value to my stepchildren, to provide value to my partners, to provide value for my clients. And I think that's something that's drawn out in my career. You mentioned I was a Marine Corps. Hoorah, yeah. But
I just had to.
Yeah, absolutely, right. But I think you're a veteran as well, and I think when you ask those veterans, we didn't sign up for ourselves. We wanted to do something. We wanted to provide value for our country. And then when I moved into, I started in mortgages in 2004, and for many years it was I really was looking to provide value for the clients that I would help. That was kind of during the refinance boom. And then when I went to teaching, I wanna make a difference to the children that I'm teaching.
So, John, I hear that you segment your life in regards to here's my teaching life, here's my marriage stepdad life, here's my loan officer life. What is it? And not saying I love my family more than this or something more than another, but how would you say what do you love most about life?
My wife would probably say football, right? You know what? I think I'm somebody who truly loves life, and right now I'm working as hard as I can to love my wife and my family as much as possible, because I think that should be number one. I think I'm a Christian. I believe very much in God, and obviously so number one actually should be loving God. I feel like a commercial right now, thank you God, and thank you, my wife and my family. But that's really what it is, and I think once I have those priorities in order, then everything else is just gravy. It's easy to love everything else. So what do I love? I think I love my family, and I love God, and I love providing value to everybody that's around me.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's one of our priorities in our business, in our real estate sales business, is God, family, business, in that order. And understanding that, God can mean a lot of different things to, each one of us. We probably all, have a perception of what that means to us, even if you're a Christian or a Muslim or whatever your faith is. Even within that, there's we all have a personal relationship in regards to the way we feel about that, I believe. So,
Yes.
so Johnson, what advice would you give to another so that their life could become infinitely better? So we're talking about growth, right? So
Right.
what can you give to our viewers right now, to our listeners, to make their lives better?
I'm going to steal a line from a show that I'm watching with my wife right now. It's called Imposters. It's a great show, by the way. But one of this line, a line that they pick up in the middle of the show is called "It's always forward, never backwards." And I think, I think for me, I remember that once upon a time, and this is probably possibly a turning point in my life. When I was 23 years old, I was in a horrific car accident where I was in a coma for a couple months. I had to relearn how to walk, and I remember after I recovered and got out of the hospital, and I threw a party for the nurses that took care of me and helped me get back to health. And one of the things that they said is like, we are so happy to come here because you were always so positive. You never thought for a second, even though you're the sickest person in the ICU for the entire time you were there, you were always, how am I going to get better? And in my mind, I was like, yeah, I mean, there's no reason to sit there and think, hey, my life is terrible. I mean, I don't want anybody to think that I've never thought that before. But when it came down to it, I realized how much of an impact that made on those nurses, because God bless the medical field. They see some really, really awful things, and for them to tell me that helped them get through their days, and they were so happy, that was really big for me, and I try to carry that everywhere I go.
So how long was the recovery? So you said 2-3 months that you were in coma. How long were you in the hospital the entire time?
I got in a car accident on March 21st, 2001. I woke up from the coma on May 24th, and they told me it was going to take me 6 months to learn how to walk again. And I walked out of the hospital under my own power on June 20th. Actually, I want to lie. My parents were there. I was in a wheelchair, but I got up out of the wheelchair and walked to the car. This was like 4 steps. That was a big thing for me at the time.
So that was like less than 5 weeks after you became conscious.
Yeah.
And
And
when
it
you
was like
came,
the longest 5 weeks ever. I mean, if you ask me now how long it felt like 6 months, but like it was 5 weeks.
what do you recall when you came out of a coma? Do you recall, was there any awareness of the fact that you had just missed a couple months of your life? Or, I mean, was it just like waking up from going to sleep? Do you recall that, what you experienced?
Yeah, yes. Mostly because people have asked me since day one what it's like, right? And I'm like, well, first of all, in the coma, it was like the longest nightmare I've ever had in my life. I mean, I remember vividly, and I'm not a person who remembers their dreams, but I can still remember to this day what I was dreaming. But there are little bits and pieces of that were actually happening. Like, for instance, my sister came and she read a book. And I remember when I was conscious, she came again and she's like, "Hey, Johnny, do you remember me reading to you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah, you were reading C.S. Lewis, a Horse and His Boy." And she's like, "Yeah." And so that totally happened. And then I said, "Yeah." And then because I couldn't speak, we were doing sign language. And my sister's like, "No, that didn't happen." So there are parts of it that were like totally there, but like there are parts of it that I totally imagined. That was part of my dream.
Wow, that's incredible. Incredible. And so then you threw a party for the nurses because you felt as though if that tell us, like, what caused you to do that?
I think my mindset was, that was my community for that 3 months. And those are the people that I saw every day. I mean, I had people that came to visit me, my friends and family and relatives and stuff that came to visit me. But like, I was like, I want to honor the people that worked so hard, and that's just, they're doing that because that's their job, not because I'm anybody special necessarily, but they do such a great job, and I think that's just what I thought. My mom and dad were like, they stayed for a couple months to take care of me, to make sure I was okay. But they were totally on board. I mean, my dad is super social, so my parents made friends with all the doctors and nurses, so they were totally on board, and it was just something that just came naturally to us.
Do you still stay in touch with any of those nurses today?
Unfortunately, I don't. I mean, I wish I did. I still remember Dr. Seaver was the main doctor. And I remember when I wrote a letter when probably about a year and a half later, and got a response from, like, I guess the Stanford Hospital social worker, and they actually wanted to interview me, but I was stationed out in Camp Pendleton at the time, so I couldn't get out there, but they wanted to interview me about my recovery. So.
What would you say if there's one thing that you learned through that experience of your life? What would that be?
I mean, I think that was my first, and I wouldn't have called it growth mindset at the time, but I think the one thing that I learned is that having a good attitude and being able to adapt no matter what your circumstance is gonna be the only way forward. Like that show, always forward, never back, right? I mean, there's no way to reverse time and go back to before I got in the car. You could ask my friends and family that have known me since then. I live a very full life. Are there things that I can't do that I could do that I could do? Yeah, absolutely. But I can't think that way, and things change. Make the best of it and learn and grow. And that's I think that's what I learned the most.
So let's fast forward, because that was a few years ago. So let's fast forward to more recent times. How would you describe the difference in your life today than 5 years ago?
Well, 5 years ago, I was fairly newly married, so my wife and I were kind of in our honeymoon stage, and now now both of us know it takes effort. Marriage takes effort, and we both work hard at it. And I think reprioritizing things. Another thing is now I'm back in the mortgage business, so it's definitely a different world than teaching. So that was your question. How's my life different, right?
Yeah. Like, what's different between then and now?
And I think there's a lot of things that, well, one of the big differences happened like after I got out of the coma. I spent a couple years recovering. I remember getting up from my cubicle. I used to work for Lockheed Martin out in California, and I remember like thinking in my head, I was like, I'm not in charge of my own life. I worked in a cubicle. I was a fairly low-level financial analyst, and I was like, I'm going through performance reviews and things like that. And I was like, I want to be more in control. I want to be able to help see that I'm helping people around me. And so I got up from my desk. I looked around. I was like, I'm just going to go to Pete Baumgartner's office. And I go to Pete, who's my direct supervisor, and I was like, I don't think that this is for me anymore. I want to do something that's more service oriented and client facing. And I mean, it was a great conversation. It was a great exit interview. A couple of weeks later, I was working in mortgages.
Got it. And so, where do you see yourself, say, 5 years from today?
That's an interesting question. I think that's like right in between long-term and short-term goals. So like everybody always says, what are your short-term goals and what are your long-term goals? This is like a medium-term goal, right? I think in 5 years, what I would like to say is that I'd like to, I'd like to have established the Princeton brand in Northern Virginia and the DMV as like the number one lender. Right now, there's several lenders that we probably all know that are that people know in the DMV area, and Princeton's fairly new in the DMV. And the same thing happened in Charleston when Mark Gordon went down to Charleston and started the office down there. And now Princeton is super recognizable down in Charleston, South Carolina. And I kind of want to do the same thing here in the DMV. And hopefully, 5 years from now, that'll be the case.
How long ago was that in South Carolina that they launched in there?
Not long ago. That was, I want to say it was 2018.
2018. So less than 3 years?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to change your 5-year goal to your 2.5-year goal then.
All right. Well, you're going to have to be on board with that. Right? I mean, you're going to work together with that, right?
So, if you could give one piece of advice, John, to those in the real estate industry, what would that be?
This current market, it's different, but that's not it. Things are always going to change, and I think right now is a great time to differentiate yourself as a real estate agent, as a lender, and what is going to set you apart? Because right now, I mean, you've been in real estate longer than I have, and way longer than I have, and I don't know if you've seen a market that's quite like this before. But
right before I got started.
Right before you? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
As an investor, I've seen this as an investor, not as a real estate agent. So 2002, 3, 4, and 5, and really 3, 4, and 5, it was the same.
Okay.
So I wasn't in real estate sales at that time.
Okay.
So I thought I was an investor back then. What I learned was that I was a speculator, getting really lucky of the market conditions, which caused me to take some risk that then caused me to realize that I was a speculator in 2006, 2007. That was when the
I mean, there's some
market
speculation in investing, right?
Well, there is, but if you can follow you can follow proven models and proven methodologies through time to be able to develop wealth through real estate investing, which are much more healthy than saying the market is literally I've put 3 properties under contract for sellers, not buyers, in the last 7 days, and I think collectively we're looking at about 32 offers for 3 properties.
Yes.
Okay, it's collectively. Now, for the buyers that we're representing, and thank you, John, for being a part of many of those. And you told me that we just put one under contract today. Was that true?
Yeah.
Hey, all right. So that's fantastic, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that our company does a great job with what can we do differently and giving us advice. But I think one of the things that I like to do always is I always call the listing agent and introduce myself and talk about what my model is and give them some reassurance about like me doing my job and looking at documents and things like that. And just things like that are going to make a big difference for agents and loan officers.
Yeah. So as a loan officer, that's something that I believe every single offer that a buyer's agent presents, there should be the loan officer should be calling the listing agent to reassure them, and that's a part of our methodology to be able to get our offers accepted, for sure. So, John, besides what do you see in the real estate market like in the near future? Where do you see the market going?
I mean, this is the speculation part, right? Right. I mean, right now, there's a couple different factors I think that are contributing to this being such a hot market right now, especially for sellers, right? One, interest rates are low, so it's like there's a lot of people that are like, hey, I can afford to buy a house instead of rent. So that's driving up prices, putting a lot of buyers in the market. Now, it seems like there are some regulations that are being implemented to try to change that. One of them is, I don't know if you how much you've read up into this, but Freddie and Fannie just said they're going to strictly enforce the 7% rule with investment properties, which affects the pricing. So that might be taking some investors out of the market, or people buying second homes.
Tell us what that means. Tell us what that means, if you could, please.
Yeah. So Freddie and Fannie are only supposed to have 7% of their overall portfolio be investment properties or second homes. Currently, it's at 11%. So about what is that? 50%, almost 50% more, right? Actually, what is that? Over 50% more. What am I? My math is off. But
did you teach math in school? Was that your?
Yes, I did.
Oh, goodness gracious! Well done.
Yeah, I mean, I can laugh at myself. That's all right, right? But thinking about what that means, Freddie and Fannie just discourage, in their own way, to keep free market, but also discourage that the pricing on investment properties is much higher now. So like literally overnight, it's like it becomes extraordinarily cost inefficient to have a mortgage on an investment property. So people that want to refinance an investment property and take equity out, they're having a hard time doing that because it doesn't make any sense anymore.
So, all right. So that's where you think that we're going, and so that's where we are right now in the marketplace. Is with those low interest rates, and in the market currently is as I mentioned, for 3 properties, 32 offers. So that's a extraordinarily competitive marketplace for a buyer, and an extraordinarily good marketplace for a seller. Yet the interest rates sort of balance off of the buyer, because there's 2 things that go into the equation of what you can afford in a home. One being price, 2 being interest rates. So even though there's some changes that are going in that in those interest rates right now, it still seems as though if they're still dirt cheap, even though that they're going to be going up, but they're still dirt cheap today. And so, it makes sense for buyers that, are considering to buy, that today's the time, because
because at some point the property values are going to inflate to the point where the monthly mortgage starts to get a little bit more costly. But right now, interest rates are still really low. So how fast we accelerate to the point, I guess, is the question.
So, John, in your opinion, just in general, what do you see as the biggest problem in our real estate industry today, and how can we solve that?
One thing is, I think that buyers need to link up with good real estate agents, and I think that's that. I mean, I think I put out a video on that like a couple weeks ago on my channel, but right now, if you're looking to buy a house, you need to have a good real estate agent that knows how to construct a good offer. You're competing against 20, possibly 10, 20 different offers. And it's not always the highest price that wins out. There's different things that are considered. So that would be one thing that I would recommend to buyers.
So get a good agent.
Get a good agent. I know a good one.
Does anybody come to mind? Anybody come to mind?
I would say Dan and his team is fantastic. Lucia Mendoza is incredible. She's amazing.
Lucia is one of our top agents. So we work together with Greenwich, Virginia. So thank you for saying that, John. I appreciate that.
Of course.
We're gonna take that. This, just so you know, we're recording this, and we're gonna take that last little piece out. That's what's gonna be posted online. Is that last little piece?
You know what? I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. I'm very sincere when I say that. I mean, I know a few good agents, and I think that's super important.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's just I'm honored to be in relationship with Lucia as well. So John, if I'm a buyer, or if I want to refinance my home, or if I'm a real estate sales agent, I'm looking for a great loan officer, how do I get in touch with you?
You could call me on my cell phone, 650-888-0892. You could ask Lucia. I'll always pick up, or if I'm on the phone, I'll send a text that says, "Hey, I'm on the phone. let me call you back right away, or I'll set an appointment. You can link to my webpage, johnlin.princetonmortgage.com, and you could also send me a message on Facebook Messenger. Man, if I knew I had the spot, I would have had that rolling off my tongue a little faster, I think.
Well, give us the phone number again, and you say that again slowly so that people can jot it down if you could.
Sure, 650-888-0892. And it's a California number, but I am local here in Alexandria, Virginia.
Got it. All right. And then the website, johnlin.princetonmortgage.com. Did I get that correctly?
Correct. johnlin.princetonmortgage.com. John, JOHNLIN.princetonmortgage.com.
John, thank you so much. And I appreciate our relationship and everything that you do for our clients and our friendship as well. So, John, thank you and have the best day of your life.
You too, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Give us a thumbs up by clicking the like button below. Don't forget to subscribe to